I moved a few things around and everything went crazy. Hey yo, what's good, gang? It's your favorite driver, Duncan X. Please say the X. And today's episode is the week 5 wrap up of my auto parts delivery vlog. Listen, sorry I'm recording is kind of late, energy kind of low, so I apologize for that. But man, I moved a couple things around and everything went haywire, so it's just been issues today that I still have to fix. But anyway, let's talk about the previous week. It was a short week for me, but very action packed. I took, what day was that? I believe I took Thursday off, and I had my guy David fill in for me. You know, I talked about him in the previous. He used to work for me at my restaurant some years ago. We've maintained contact, and he, came, like I said, to help out in the day that I was off. But also, he worked that week in another warehouse, delivering parts as I do, under my LLC. Phenomenal job. All the ladies of the other warehouse were raving about him. At my warehouse the day he filled in for me, they were raving about him. So kudos to David. So much so that they wanted to extend his work, basically give him a contract, even without an LLC. It would appear to me that he may be opting out of that for reasons that are, his story to tell, not mine. But he did great. I mean, they were going out of their way to attempt to get him on, and even with myself, what was the quote? It was, "The two of you have raised the bar around here." I thought that was cool, but why did it take me bringing on another person to get my flowers? I say that kind of tongue in cheek. It doesn't really bother me. I'm just joking. But yeah. So with the action packedness of it all, man, it was so many issues with the handheld device that I have to use to scan the parts as I'm delivering them. Not just in my warehouse, but even at the other that David was working on, and they were crossing over to people using their personal phones, as the device instead. That seemed to be a headache. I've become really, really, really efficient at my job. So much so that the first block of the day, I'm given 3 hours to make that first batch of deliveries from 7 a.m. to 10. I am now getting back before 9 o'clock most days. With that being said, though, someone up above has had an issue with how I'm doing it. Maybe not how I'm doing it, but a small part of it. So I use an app that routes me, that provides me the optimal route to do my job. Which is basically, it limits left-hand turns. Because as you guys know, coming into an intersection or coming out of a parking lot, making a left-hand turn, you have to deal with the flow of traffic going both ways to get across. So at times that slows you down, and especially where I am, there's a lot of construction, a lot of 2 lanes only, and it's just hectic. I realized how much time I was losing within my first week of doing this. So once I configured the route correctly, that helped a lot. Now the handheld device that they provide us, it puts things in a particular order that's supposed to be a good route. However, most times it's not. And even when it's close to being a good route, it's not. Because I'll have stops on the opposite side of the street coming down, and it'll tell me to go left and then make the left turn into one side, go a little further down, and it's just, again, it's not great, and you lose a little time. And again, efficiency is my thing, so I began to, utilize my app that was routing, and of course, from time to time, I would make tweaks as I saw necessary. So in the handheld device, you can only use it in the order that's provided, unless you swap the stops within the device. So that's what I began to do. As I would, route it in my phone, I would match it up in the scanner to have the same route. And of course, my paper log manifest, I would order those as well. So when I get to the stop, everything is in sync. I grab the scanner, boom, boom, hit the parts. I grab the paperwork. I'm going inside to hand it off to whomever I need to hand it off to and move accordingly. So not only is it extremely, extremely time saving, but the efficiency comes into play because it minimizes the mistakes that can be made. So as I'm using both my phone and the device in sync, scanning parts, and when it comes to picking up parts, everything is already in order. My paperwork is already there. However, somebody has taken issue with me moving the stops around in the scanner. I really don't like this at all. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Me being the stickler and the slight touch of OCD that I have, I really consider leaving. I know it may sound crazy to some people, but being that I've been, my own boss a couple times, I'll say this: I don't have an ego when it comes to quote unquote being the boss. I learn from the people that I'm working with, whether I hired them or not. That's of no consequence to me. I can still learn from them. Especially, I just have to go back to the restaurant. There was so much that I didn't know. I hired people that had plenty of experience that I learned a lot from. And we implemented a lot of those lessons into how we did things, and it streamlined the process. We just got better and better. Also, think about the employees who felt like they made a difference. They gave input that we actually used. Like, they saw it in real time. So that creates, I don't know if I want to say a bond, but a better feeling with your work environment. With that being said, I don't just implement rules that made it difficult on the employees that I wouldn't be subject to. And in this case, with them asking me to no longer move the stops within the device, well, you open the door for mistakes to be made. Because, again, in this device, if you don't follow that order, you cannot proceed to the next stop. So let's say up here it has location A, B, and C. But the optimal route that my app provides is CBA. So when I get to location C or address C with the scanner, I can't scan the parts with the device because they no longer want me to move the stops around. Also, if I have to pick up something from this location, I also can't use the device to key in what I'm picking up. So I have a couple options. On my manifest, the paperwork, I can write on it what I picked up, what I delivered, so later on I can go and put it in the device. Or I can try to memorize it. So I can add more time to what I'm doing, or I run the risk of making a mistake. So you've created a problem. It slows me down and it's very inefficient with a higher probability of making mistakes. That's how a lot of people were making mistakes because they weren't moving the things in the device. I now know people weren't doing it. A lot of people actually aren't even using the device until they're on the way back, and then they key everything in, and they wonder why so many mistakes were made by others, and I really hadn't. So for someone who's not out delivering parts to send message to, for me to no longer do that, that was problematic for me, because my question, and I phrased it exactly like this, to the liaison, the person in between me and the individual who no longer wanted me to do that. I phrased it like this. Now, this is not me saying that I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. I'm only asking you this out of curiosity. I will no longer move the stops within the device because you've asked me to. But what effect does that have on their processes? That question never got answered for me. It was, oh, they just don't want you to do it. That is something that I have an issue with. You impose something on me that makes my job harder simply because you feel like it. If it doesn't affect your job or anything else negatively, and it hasn't, because I've taken what they've alleged was the hardest, most difficult route they have, and I've made it clockwork. So for you to then change my process up, I'm just not a fan, especially when it's for no reason. It's not, overcomplicating your job. So again, that really bothered me. Not to mention that the previous week I should say, I had just trained someone in half a day that y'all loved so much. You were throwing contracts at them, trying to accommodate them however you could. So, yeah, that was problematic for me. On top of, let's do this too. The same employee that I'm talking about. Well, I guess he could be called an employee. Let's just say that for the sake of argument. Let's call him the employee. So when I initially brought him to the warehouse, I trained him on my own. Like, that wasn't anything that the company set up, because they ask for you to have a backup driver as an LLC for days I can't be there, someone can fill in. Okay, cool. So no, I wasn't training him for a backup driver, but I brought him in to show him how it does in case I needed that someday while we worked on getting a route for him. That was the goal, to get him his own route. He didn't have an LLC, so he would be working under mine in that time. And in my mind, I knew that this was a possibility because another independent contractor that I've had conversations with up there was doing the same thing with a family member of his. At the time, I did not know that there were multiple companies within the warehouse. Come to find out that he works at a different company where a master contract is allowed for him to subcontract work out. The company that I have my contract with doesn't allow master contracts, allegedly. I say allegedly because I was told that they don't offer them, but at the other warehouse, as soon as they needed a fill-in, they asked if my driver could come over and help him out. Again, he still doesn't have his own LLC. He was working under my LLC for you guys. Evidence will be on my next check. And to say that you can't do it and then turn around and ask me to do exactly what you're telling me you can't do, that's problematic for me. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to create any issues. I really don't, because it's too simple to get this done, and I am still working towards the cargo van aspirations, of course. And I have a lot of help with the people that I've met doing this particular job. Like, these opportunities are priceless. The relationships that I've garnered, man, again, you just can't put a price on it. The same guy that was offering me a job, attempting to get me off the road, is now also helping me seek out, talk with, and establish relationships and contracts with people for when I do get my van. I thought that was so dope of him. He was my last stop on Friday, and he literally took me back, got on the computer, and was showing me things. I mean, I spent about 20 minutes with him in the middle of the workday. So it's like, I don't really want to give that up with what I've established with some of these customers, but people I'm contracted with are really, really irking me a little bit. Now, some of the actual people that I work with day to day, cool. I really enjoy them. I have no problems with any of them. It's just that overhead that I do not like. I'm not a fan of how they're going about things. So yeah, man, I don't want to drag it. I feel like I've already done that. And again, pardon my energy, man. It's been a long day. It's actually been a long weekend. And given this conversation right now, I'm not exactly looking forward to tomorrow, but we'll do what we must. I will rise and grind in the morning. And I hope you all join me. So till next time, if it ain't dope, it ain't me, and it shouldn't be you either. DVO gang. Peace, y'all.